So you wanna be a picture book writer, then you gotta write picture books. And you're gonna need a bucket load of bright ideas for titles, plots, and hooks. If you're partial to prose or you're raring to rhyme, then repeat after me, it's a challenge, but I'm gonna tackle each story 1 month at a time with 12 by 12.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 12 by 12 Picture Book Podcast. I'm Julie Headland, published picture book author and founder of the 12 by 12 Challenge. And I'm here today with my co-host, Kelly Panique,
Hello.
and our special guest, Keila Dawson. Welcome,
Yay.
Keila.
Thank you.
Oh, we're so glad to have you. So, even though today it's cold and February, this episode will be live in April when the birds will be singing and it will be spring and things will be in bloom. But another reason why April is special is because it is Poetry Month. And you are a longtime 12 by 12 member who has done something that I'm not sure any other member has, and that is you have co-edited not one, not two, but soon to be three poetry anthologies. In fact, some of the authors of individual poems within those books are also 12 by 12 members. So for those of you who are here on YouTube, I'm just going to hold up two of those. The third one doesn't come out until June, right?
I have,
Oh, you do? Oh,
so I got my advance
No
copy.
brain the same. And when does that come out, Keila?
June 2.
June. Okay, June the 2nd.
so
Pre-order now.
Yes.
pre-order now. So and we'll have that pre-order link in the show notes. So these are all part of a series published by Charles Bridge. The first one
The voice too
was
small.
No Voice Too Small. And so each poem features a young person doing something amazing, making history. And the second one is No World Too Big, Young
Mhm.
People Fighting Global Climate Change. So would you mind just give us how did and you have two co-editors for each,
Yes.
Lindsay Metcalf and Jeanette Bradley, and Jeanette
Mhm.
Bradley is also the illustrator.
Right.
How did this project come to be?
Well, actually, Jeanette and Lindsay had already partnered together. And Jeanette says that she used to read biographies to her daughter at night. And she loved biographies, but she would ask, I wish I could be someone who would do something important. And Jeanette thought, well, is there any books out there about, young contemporary people doing things? And Lindsay said she had been following kids from the Stoneman Douglas shooting
Mm,
and
Right.
watching them take to the streets and just using their voices. And so they both shared the same agent. Jeanette had written a Facebook post on do you remember the Kidlit for Women group? I think Grace
yes,
Lynn had
Kidlit
started it.
Women. Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes. Well, we were all members of that group and, back and forth about different issues. And Jeanette had posted that anyone have any ideas? I'm thinking about writing a book about this. Who would you want in it? Lindsay had responded. And when they started digging into it, they were like, we need a third. and and I had responded, and so they reached out to me, and I was their first yes.
Wow. So what was your role in helping to put this together?
Well, we all make a long list. We all search for people. When we had the concept for the first book, it was just general. A big picture idea was young people are doing things. Lindsay is a journalist, a former journalist, and she was actually an editor too. Writes very lyrically. Jeanette is a author illustrator, of course, and she loves the big picture. And I'm a former educator. I have some experience as a community activist. Lindsay had mentioned that my breadth of research in genealogy actually caught her eye too. So
Oh, that's
I love
great.
to research. Yeah, yeah. So we're all diverse, but we all add our own perspectives. Lindsay is in Kansas. Jeanette is in Rhode Island. I'm a Louisiana girl who's lived all around the world, and now I'm in the Midwest. So lots of POVs there.
So did you decide on the kids you wanted in the book and then assign those to people, or did people submit poems to you of kids doing amazing things?
We made that long list,
Mm.
and we pitched, why we thought certain people should be in it. We whittled it down to the short list. Then we had to reach out to the young activists, and
Mm.
sometimes we had to use their proxies because they were underage,
Mm.
or there were agents involved. Once we secured the list, we had already matched poets. Like, if this person says yes, these are the people who we would love to see write about them. And
Oh.
so that's how we did it. We divided the list and split it up so that no one person had that burden to make the contacts and collect the yeses and whatever. And it was really amazing because we were getting a lot of yeses very early on, and it was getting exciting,
Well, I noticed that there are completely different poets from between the first and the second book. So is that also true of the third one? Did you seek out new poets who hadn't been featured in one of the other two books? Because I was impressed by that. I was like, wow.
Yes, we have a lot of different poets. Absolutely. The one that was consistent is because we have a young activist who has Down syndrome. We went back to the poet Fiona, who wrote the poem in our first book about that activist, and Fiona said yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at what point did you approach Charles Bridge with it? Did you have all of the poems already? Did you pitch it as a project and then
Oh
went out and
gosh,
found
no.
people? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, we submitted on a proposal.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
And yeah. And so we had like three different activists who had committed, and then the poems that the poets we matched to had written, and it's sold on proposal.
Wow.
Wow.
All
And
three
so
books did.
another thing, so this is really a little bit of a segue into different layers. Even though this isn't like a story picture book, you have so many different things, so many different characteristics of the book that all the poets are different, the activists are different, but also the poetry forms are different.
Mhm.
So that's another level of organization. How
Yes.
did you go about assigning this particular form or format of poem, or did the individual poets request? Because I imagine you don't want to get like 20 haikus, right? So you had to put some parameters around that. I'm really curious how that got assigned.
We did not, Julie.
What?
Wow.
They
We
can't,
did not.
you didn't specify the type of poem. Oh
Nope,
my gosh, I cannot
absolutely
believe
not.
that.
And I think it's a credit to the poets we asked. you know,
Hmm.
Oh, interesting.
because they were the ones who chose. They were the ones, we sent them the information, the research we had done on the activists, and it was up to them to decide, how can I portray this young person's activism and write about their what they're
Wow.
doing. Yeah, no, Teresa Robinson, we know and love
Yeah,
Teresa,
yeah,
right?
Teresa's great.
She wrote a look back poem. We were like, okay, what's that? I mean, the poetry forms that we got were like a danga, it's like, okay. And we were just like, just overjoyed with
That's
the
Yeah.
amazing. Did you give them
difference.
any sort of parameters outside of it being a poem? Was there a length or however
Oh,
many
yes,
lines
yes,
or okay.
yes, yes. We assumed what the trim size would be. We had an idea about that. And Jeanette, being an illustrator, she can
Yeah.
definitely see how the layout would be. So yes, we definitely had a even for the prose that we wrote, we had like I think it's like a 75 word or 60
Mhm.
or 75 word limit, so we could,
Oh, okay.
put all the parts together. Because, the
Right.
book, the way it's laid out, the spread has a lot of information.
It does. I'm going to
One
show
spread.
one for just for the people who may be watching on YouTube, and I'll kind of explain it to those of you who are just listening. So you have on the recto page typically, and sometimes it does roll over, but the poem itself with the title of the poem and the type of poem and the author of the poem. And then on the other page, you have a like sidebar information that's about the activist that's being featured. And then down here at the bottom, there's like a quote. Is this visible? I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to figure out how to show this
Yeah,
better.
it's
Um, but and then so there is a lot of information on each spread, but I also was very impressed with the back matter, which I want to cover. So this one is No World Too Big, the second
Mhm.
one. And so there's a glossary, first
Right.
of all the climate change definitions, and a little bit of information about greenhouse gases. Then there's a definition of the poetry forms,
Yes. Yes.
wow.
All the different forms. Right.
That's
all
really
the
robust
different
back matter.
forms, and then bios of all the poets.
Hmm.
So it's really amazing how much is packed into this. It's a 12 by 12 picture book or
Well,
18. I'm not
obviously, it's
sure.
a 12 by 12 picture of book.
Right, of course. I meant the trim
It's a 10 by
size.
10.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a
oh.
10 by 10.
10 by 10.
Yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah.
was like, ugh,
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so
It's
it's not
the layout. Yes.
nonfiction. It's nonfiction, it's poetry, it's
Mhm.
activism, it's diversity, it's climate and climate change. It's
Yeah.
A lot
so
of hooks, a
many.
lot of layers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So each book actually has the introduction.
Hmm.
So we start there. We start with the introduction, and then within the spread, we've got the poetry. We've got the portrait. Jeanette crams a lot of information in that portrait that is not
Mm.
covered in the text.
Oh, that's
Are you
amazing.
talking about the map in the
I'm
end
talking I'm
pages?
talking about each one of the portraits. If you
Oh,
look at like
portraits. Right.
for example, if you look at like Jasmine
Yeah.
Charger, the water protector, she actually researched like where the river was
Mm.
that they protected. Jeanette puts a lot of time into researching so that everything is factual. And
Mm.
the area where her activism started,
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah.
where the little where that city is. I mean, these are most accurate.
Mm.
To the point where there's one activist in here named Ziad. She was freaking out because she says she doesn't remember this story, but she was freaking out because the phone that he had, the iPhone that he had, because these are all portraits of the youth when they started their activism.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So the phone that she had originally drawn was a different model from a different year.
Oh.
Like,
Right.
it's too big. She doesn't remember that story, but I remember in our Slack, that's one of the ways that we communicate, that she was like, I have to make it smaller. That's not the right model.
Oh no.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, she's
Yeah.
very meticulous about the portraits and the art, and there's a lot of detail that goes and research that goes into that.
It really is incredible.
How did you go from the first book to the second book and then to the third? How did the sequels come to be?
Okay, so I can tell you the big idea for all of the books is
Mhm.
that young people are doing things, right?
Right, right.
And the heart message is that everyone can be the someone who does something. That's the
Mm,
call to action in our first book.
that's great.
And the universal truth is you don't have to be old Like, you don't have to be famous, and living people can do things too. It's not just dead people, because
It's a good
she was
point.
reading
It's a
those.
good point.
Dead people can't really do anything, I'm afraid.
Exactly. So why do we talk so much about dead people in
Right.
biographies, right? I wrote about a dead person too. But the idea is that we wanted role models for these young kids. The first book was just a breath of what is happening with youth in the US. And one of the things we wrote about in that book was climate change. And so for the second book, we narrowed the focus to something else that kids were worried about. And
Yeah. I was like, there's an official diagnosis now, I think, for it.
eco-anxiety.
Eco-anxiety.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
eco-anxiety. Yeah.
this book is the
Yeah.
No World Too Big book, right?
Yes, and that was, and it actually won the Green Earth Book Award too.
Oh,
Yeah.
So so we were
congratulations.
thanks. We were very proud of this book. And the young activists, we realized this is a global problem and you need global solutions. So we made it a book about the world. So we recruited young activists from around the world. The poets are also from the similar areas or have a similar propensity for wanting to do something good for the world, for the environment.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so that's how, Heidi wrote the poem for the young kids in Colorado.
Oh,
That was
yes.
one of
I
the
saw her name in
groups.
there. Yeah.
Yes, that
Heidi
was
E.
one
Weiss
of the,
Temple.
yes, that was one of the,
Yes.
and Teresa also wrote for this book. So we're very proud. And,
And
and it's
Renee,
about,
you have Renee
and
Latulippe in
Renee, oh
this.
gosh, yes, her dramatic dialogue. Yeah, and Marinelle actually from who she wrote about, Marinelle is doing. We still follow these kids, and
Sure.
we'll text each other and say things like, "Oh, our baby has grown up and is in Harvard or Yale
Oh,
or running for Congress." I mean,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
that's amazing.
these youth are, you know. Mari is doing amazing things. Marley Diaz, who we have in the first book. I mean, the youth are, we picked the right youth, in other words.
Yeah, yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
You know,
So
Well,
did you have
that
to go to Charles Bridge to pitch the second book, or did they approach you
yeah,
about, hey, this book did really well. Do you have anything else?
we did submit a proposal for that one. And to come back to your question about the third book, we basically had this wide lens for the first, zoomed in for this one. I think of the third book as a selfie.
Oh, interesting. And that
These
one is
kids,
No Brain the Same,
no brain the
correct?
same.
Okay.
Yes, neurodivergent young people shaping our world. And these kids took a look at themselves and said, "What can I do for myself that can help other people too?"
wow.
And they went out there and they did it, and it amazing. I mean, I love this book so much. And
So you
and
have a copy. So would you do us the favor of
Oh,
reading one of the poems in that book? Give our listeners a sneak peek and maybe incentivize them to pre-order it?
sure, let's see. I'm going to read Jeanette's. I don't think she'll mind.
Okay.
This is the spread
Oh,
that
it's
goes with that
beautiful.
book. So we have, like Julie said, we have the title, the kind of poem it is, the poem, the portrait, small prose biography about the activist, and it's actually the introduction. But on the
oh,
other spreads, we do have like action tips.
Hmm.
But I'll read the
oh.
intro because Jeanette wrote the intro poem to this book. We are the future, and it's a kenning poem by Jeanette Bradley. We are the open dreamers, the deep feelers, the big thinkers, the magic makers. We are the truth speakers, the heart singers, the peace fighters, the justice leaders. We are the fierce self lovers, the laughing healers, the bond builders, the hope bringers. We are the path pavers, the leap takers, the quest seekers, the system changers. We are the extra, the ordinary. We are the future, extraordinary.
Oh,
Oh,
that's amazing.
that is amazing. What a
Yeah.
great introduction.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So in this book, you will meet 14 neurodivergent young activists who are trailblazing for themselves, for their communities, and for our planet. Each activist inspired a poet who shares an aspect of their identity. Look for tips on ways you can use your talents and passions to work for change, and check the glossary at the end for unfamiliar words. Believe in yourself, reach out to others, and lead. So
Mm,
this book
Fantastic.
actually takes both of the first two books and just puts it all together. And
Right.
like I said, from that selfie.
right, right. You know, I love the analogy that you made about big to zoom in
Mhm,
to selfie, but also it seems to me as though the order of the book also tracked the timeliness of the issues, although I'm sure you didn't have a crystal ball to predict that. But, No World Too Big coming out as the second book, right, is, all of the issues around the Paris Agreement and the climate
mhm,
accords
mhm.
and now with the No Brain the Same and neurodivergence, our Secretary of Education going in and, trying to, well, not trying to, actually making false statements about the
Mhm.
abilities of people and whatnot. So it seems especially important to have this book coming out right in this moment too, you know. I mean, I have generalized anxiety disorder, and so I remember when I don't know the exact speech, but he said something to the effect of these people are going to be rounded up and put on a like in a work camp or something. And I saw not I saw a TikTok that was so hilarious. This guy was like, "So you're gonna take all the people with ADHD and debilitating depression and anxiety. Like, what work do you think is gonna get done?"
Exactly,
Right.
exactly.
But
Yeah.
anyway, all that aside, the fact is that we need to value everyone's way of thinking, of being, of experiencing, of contributing to the world. And so I feel like this could not come at a better time.
Absolutely, Julie. And actually, my background, like I said, is in education, and I used to work at this clinic as an educational diagnostician. I remember this one father coming in, usually kids who were having some kind of academic trouble, and this dad said, "I love both of my children, but if I am ever lost in a forest, it is my child who is struggling academically who who I would go to ask, please help us out of this." Because of
For
the way his
sure.
brain worked.
Right,
Right.
right.
He was an ADHD kid, but he just he had that gift, and that's what this book is about. It's about the gifts.
Hmm.
This is a world that is made for neurotypical people. And this is about how these youth with neurodivergence navigate this world. That in itself is just problem solving every day. And I used to witness it, you know,
Right.
when I was in a classroom and as a school administrator and as a consultant, I witnessed it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And the fact is that it takes so much grit and talent to live with that. Years ago, I had a neuropsychologist who did workups on both of my kids. And I won't say one of them had a combination of a learning disability. It was an eye thing. When she was reading, a letter would just drop, you know, and it wasn't dyslexia. It had a name, and I don't remember because we put her in therapy and it eventually we worked through it, and I don't remember the name of it. But she also had ADHD and she had anxiety. And the psychologist said to me, "It's amazing what she has done, given that she's essentially walking through school with like three cinder blocks strapped to her back, you
Oh,
know,
Exactly.
wow.
because,
Exactly.
and that was so, what I'm trying to say is if you have to work harder for something, it's
Exactly.
like you are making yourself stronger in ways
Right.
Hmm.
that quote unquote
Right.
neurotypical people would not have to do.
Right.
And there's something about that process and creating those abilities that really is extraordinary.
Yeah.
And the reason I say quote unquote neurotypical is because, you know, one of the things I've been thinking of lately is what does that mean? Who decides what's typical? You know, I mean, our brains are so complicated. We don't even understand a fraction of what our brains are capable of. We certainly don't use our entire brains. And so, what does that even mean, typical?
Mhm.
I don't know, but that's a conversation for that's outside the scope of what we're talking about today. So there are, I think, a lot of poets out there who would like to contribute to anthologies and or be involved in a project like this. What do you recommend for poets, writers? How could they get on the radar for opportunities like this, do you think?
Usually, when we're looking, and actually we have a fourth, but I can talk about that later.
Yay.
It's not a picture book; it's a middle grade. When we were looking for people like for that book and these books as well, we would read what they've contributed. Like if like, we'd go to like poets.org or buy their books. I went to 12 by 12. I mean, look at how many people that Mindy actually agreed to write for our middle grade. So, we look for the work of people who we know, but we also go online to look at what they have published. So if you have a blog and you have some of your writing, share your poetry like poets.org or someplace like that. But mostly it's the books that have been published that
Mm.
are poetry. We just read the work and
Hmm.
see if you are a match to the activist who we'd like you to write about.
Yeah. So I would think publishing, even, you know, publishing with highlights, magazine or other places where they publish children's
Yeah.
poetry.
Hmm.
Janet Wong, who was a webinar
Yes.
speaker a few years ago. In fact, while we're at it, we can just add a coupon to that webinar
Definitely.
for our listeners because it was incredible. It was all about reading poetry to become a better picture book writer. But she talked about the poetry anthologies that she's
Mhm.
put together. So if you just go to 12 by 12 challenge, that's 12x12challenge.com/Janet,
Mhm.
we'll go ahead and throw a 25% discount on that webinar.
Mhm.
But so she did a lot of Poetry Friday anthologies.
Yes.
And I personally, I don't participate in Poetry Friday, but I know a lot of people do. Is that a good way to get involved? And is there anybody that's sort of running a central community around Poetry Friday anymore?
I don't know. I remember Jane Yolen had
Yes.
something. Yeah, I'm not sure, but
Okay.
but
It was a
any
hashtag, I think.
yeah,
Maybe
um,
it fell off after
COVID.
the
Yeah,
social
it used to
media
come to my
network
something
that
used to
shall
come to
not
my
be named
yeah
died
something
off.
used to come to my inbox actually, and I
Oh,
don't.
Jane Yolen had for
Yeah.
years, she did the poem a day, which you
Yes.
could
Okay.
subscribe
That's
to. And
yeah.
you know, what a treasure. I
Mhm.
have all of them. So I feel like if I someday I could print them and bind them and have my own
Mhm.
little Jane
Yeah,
Yolen
Jen.
collection.
Yeah.
But I think
Renee
if
Tulip. She has Renee.
Renee Latulippe
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
the
Renee
Lyrical
Tulip.
Language Lab
Yes.
Right.
and
Yes.
but I do think that hashtag Poetry Friday, if people I should have tested this before we came on, but
Mhm.
maybe
Maybe we can bring it
things
back if it's not
things
going
are
right
happening
now.
on Blue Sky or Instagram or something.
Mhm.
I don't know. It sounds like to be in a book like this, it's good to be, as with any kind of writing, be working on your craft, be
Mhm.
improving, engage in community,
Yep,
you know.
participate in the
Yes.
community.
And
Yes.
in the show notes, we'll also have a list in our 12 by 12 bookshop of poetry picture books. And we'll include that in the show notes. But, read a lot of poetry
Mhm.
and write as much as you can.
Keila, can
Mhm.
you, since we are posting this during Poetry Month, do you have any particular resources you recommend for people who are trying to become published poets?
If people write lyrically, it's hard for me to say, although I've published poems now in this book, it's hard for me to call myself a poet. Like I haven't studied necessarily poetry.
Mm-hmm.
Like Julie said, it's the craft. And poetry is so emotional. If you are a lyrical writer,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not that it's easy, but it's easier to write something from the heart.
Yeah.
If you
That's what tends to happen to me. Like I'm the same as you. I write poetry, but I would not call myself a
no,
poet.
right.
And usually what happens for me is I'm just overcome with something that needs to be a poem like right now. I wish that would happen to me in my picture book writing. It never does. And then I'll write it and I'll be really happy with it. And then like 6 months go by and then that feeling comes back again. But
Mhm.
I have thought about, and I think I would really recommend that listeners grab these books, look at the poetry forms that are
Mhm.
here represented in the books, find which ones appeal to you, go look up whatever the structure is of that poem and try it. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
because one thing I love jigsaw puzzles. Part of the reason why I like writing in rhyme is because there's a certain technical aspect to it. And so to some extent, a form of poetry that's a little, say, more rigid than free verse, for example, can put some parameters around it that might just be fun to play with as a way of practicing. And yeah, you're so right. Poetry is very emotional and it's about getting the maximum amount of feeling in the
Mhm.
shortest amount of space, is how
Yeah,
I
Well,
think
I
of it.
and it's interesting you say that poetry is so emotional when what we're talking about in these books are
absolutely.
biographies of, I mean, and not that biographies can't be emotional, but I don't know that I would necessarily, you don't necessarily think of biography, emotion, poems put together. And so that just
Yeah,
makes these books even more special,
yeah.
um, for the
I'll tell
added
you.
layer of emotion behind the poems as
Yeah,
well.
I'll tell you a story. I didn't commit to writing anything for the second book. It
Hmm.
was an image that I saw online. As
Hmm.
we are doing the research and getting involved with these young activists from around the world, I saw this young person with a protest sign. And the protest sign said, 1, 2, 3, there is no planet B.
Mm.
That image stayed with me. And it was so emotional that I went to sleep. And that night, that sleep stage when you're like either just falling asleep or just waking up,
Hmm.
the two lines came to me.
Mm.
And I woke up and I thought, is there another Earth? No, this is our only world. And I thought, oh, and I can't believe that, I didn't. It stayed with me when I was up, and
That's amazing.
I wrote to Jeanette and Lindsay. And I said, I think I want to write a golden shovel.
Good for
And
you.
so
Good
I
for
studied the
you.
form, and I thought, yeah, I can do this using the title of the book
Hmm.
Oh,
as
it's
the
amazing.
and the words that the end each line, and
Right.
that's how that poem came to be. After editing and adding more more poetic devices to it. That's how it happened. And
Wow.
yeah,
Right. So there
it's
you go.
emotional.
Yeah.
Yes, an image, an image.
An
I couldn't get
image.
I couldn't get that image out of my head of that young girl standing with that sign.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And that's a really good way of differentiating a poem versus a picture book too. I know Renee Latulippe talks about this a lot, that you can have a poem that's not a picture book, and you can have a picture book that's not a poem. And the biggest difference is that a poem is really capturing an idea, or like you said, an image or a moment or an emotion.
Mhm.
Whereas a picture book, at least in the narrative sense, is really a journey through someone's story. As we kind of come down to the end here, I do want to just let our listeners know that you write other books as well.
Yes,
And you said you were from Louisiana, and so you have a couple of Louisiana themed books, King Cake
yes,
Baby and Yumbo Gumbo.
yes.
And you have a biography, Opening the Road, about
Mhm.
Victor Hugo and his Green Book. Do you have anything? I want you to tell us about the fourth book that's
Mhm.
not even into being yet, in the no, what do you call
In the
this?
activist
In the
Well,
series.
actually,
activist poem.
yeah, it's actually with a different publisher, and it's
Oh,
not in
you
this
said it's
series.
middle
Yeah,
grade, right?
right,
Oh, right.
right. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Is it the same team?
Yes, yes. We
Okay.
can't. We like Jeanette says, it is a school group project that just won't end.
So if it's middle grade, is it still poems or are they more like chapters for each activist, or how is that different?
Yeah, it's more of a chapter. So it's called How We Got Here. It's under contract with Astra, and
Oh,
it's called How We Got Here: Conversations with United States History.
Mm.
oh,
And
interesting.
so with this book, we matched poets with primary source documents.
Oh,
Wow.
amazing.
Yeah, so I write about, guess what? The 1803 Louisiana Compromise.
Oh,
Because
Wow.
my family has been in, I mean, I write about my ancestors, the first couple that lived under all three flags,
oh, wow.
Mm,
the French, the Spanish, and then the American flags.
Wow.
So what we want to do is we want to engage readers in conversations,
Mhm.
about the origins of our country and all the different paths people have taken to get here.
nice.
That's incredible.
Perfect.
Yeah.
What about you as individual author? Do you have anything coming
Yes,
up
I
or?
also have a sequel to Yumbo Gumbo.
Oh, good.
Yeah, Annabelle's Beignet Cafe. It's all about
Oh,
food, of course.
I'm
Oh,
so hungry
your
now.
posts always make me so
I
hungry.
know.
You
I know.
always post
I
about
know.
on this is not in 12 by 12 so much, but in your personal Facebook, you're always posting these dinners that your son makes.
Oh
And
yes, yes,
uh
yeah. Actually,
they're
actually, my husband was recently in London. He lives in London now, and he brought back a loaf of bread. He's like,
wow.
"This is baking so much."
So the final question that we ask our
Mhm.
guests is, what picture book do you wish you had written and why?
Well, I'm going with The Rabbit Listened.
Oh, such a
Mm,
good book.
yeah.
Yes, isn't it? It's All the Fields, right? By Corey Dorfield. I think we've all been Taylor from that book. We've all suffered loss. We've all suffered disappointment. And I think that, it's a great message of teaching empathy. It's what empathy looks like, right? And that's what we try to do with a lot of my books is edutain with my books about Louisiana, but the other books are really about emotion and empathy and teaching empathy. Sometimes showing up is sometimes the best way to support a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And just that's just it. Just that. You don't have to have the grand gestures and the
Right,
solutions and
right.
just presence. Yeah. I love that. That book
Yes,
that book felt
yes.
like a big game changer. And it almost seemed to me like that's kind of what launched the SEL movement.
Mm-hmm.
You
It's a
know,
classic. It's going to be a
yeah,
classic. I think, it should be. It has to be,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much. It is our pleasure to have you as a guest on the podcast, but even more so as a member of the 12 by 12 Picture Book Writing Challenge.
Mhm.
Definitely.
People like you doing the work you're doing is fascinating and inspiring and important. So thank you for that. And look out for all of our social media posts in June when No Brain the Same comes out.
Yes. Thank you, Julie, and thank you for building this community. And Kelly, thank you for everything you do to keep it going.
Oh,
That's right.
thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Ciao for
Sure.
now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Do it together so never you fear. It's a handy little way to help you kick into gear. You're amazing, exciting. Look out, cause you're writing 12 by 12. 12 manuscripts. 12